what's going on, everybody? It's Ghost Joe, and who are you?
Oh,
Who are you?
Dan. Dan
Oh,
from
and
CTV. Dan Panaccio. That's me.
yeah, it's our first show doing Paranormal Talk, and it's a show that hopefully we would like to continue, interviewing people and sharing some paranormal facts with you guys. Um, I have a paranormal podcast called the Warp Reality Podcast, so check that out if you'd like. But my dad and I are here today to speak with actually a very old friend of ours that he actually used to be our boss many years ago doing event security and stuff. So our first guest on our debut show is a longtime Staten Islander and friend, Rick Rispoli.
That's right.
Rick has been instrumental in the last 30 or so years in bringing great local music to the Staten Island community, like my old band. And he has owned and managed rock bars, organized free live music events in public parks around the area, which were amazing. Those Gateway shows and Wolf's Pond Park shows were some of my best memories growing up. Those are great. But most recently, he has been the live-in caretaker and manager for one of the most haunted houses in New York City, the Kreisher Mansion. Without further ado, I guess, Dad, you want to say anything before we get on with this interview?
No, let's take it away. How did you get involved in being the caretaker at Kreisher Mansion?
I was looking for a site to do events and concerts and stuff. And I was checking out a few places on Staten Island. I was trying to go to a private sector instead of going to a city park. And then there was a recording studio at the mansion at the time that was run by this guy, Brian Pence, and they couldn't get it off the ground. And so I knew somebody who knew him, and I approached him. And I went in there to try to do events with them. And then he kind of flaked out and left. And then I became friends with the owner and basically just took over caring for the mansion and doing events there.
Okay, great.
So,
go ahead,
can
Joe.
you tell us what the history and the lore of the Kreischer Mansion is? Why is it so haunted?
Sure. Well, Baldur Kreischer was a brickmaker, and he lived in Germany. He was from Germany in the 1800s, and New York City had the massive fires in the mid 1800s, and he came over here as a brickmaker to help New York City build itself back. He actually came to New York, built a small brick factory in Manhattan on the Lower East Side, and then he needed a bigger space, so he actually started looking around New York City and actually wound up on Staten Island because of Clay Pit Pond, which is in Charleston, Staten Island, New York. And he went down to Charleston and basically, because of the clay beds, built a huge factory right on the water across the street from the Kreischer Mansion, right on the water, and actually built the whole factory town and built a big factory. He built a bar, a saloon, the post office, the general store, the schools, started the cemeteries. So while you built the factory on Staten Island, they actually invented the fireproof brick.
Really? Wow.
Yep. So he helped build back Manhattan. He built the whole factory town in Staten Island. He actually became so rich with that he was a main road that got the Staten Island Railroad going. And here's another bit of information. His daughter actually married one of the Steinways, who was another family from Germany, and he actually backed the Steinway piano fortune in Queens when his daughter married the Steinway, and he funded the whole Steinway piano fortune back in the day. And if you go out to Queens, the whole building. Yeah, and if you go out to Queens, the whole building that Steinway's in is all Kreischer bricks. The whole building is built.
Really?
All right.
What kind of things have you experienced there?
We actually do our own ghost hunts there at the Kreisher Mansion. So we call it faces and full body apparitions in the windows by just taking shots. We call it orbs. I've actually heard women screaming in there. I've heard some kids screaming. Like it's not like a screams, kind of like a moans. We've heard footsteps in there. We've seen black shadows, and we pretty much catch everything in there. We catch voices. We go in there with all kinds of meters and everything, and we catch a lot of stuff in the mansion.
Wow.
Well, do you feel that they are intelligent hauntings, or how do you think they feel about you being there?
I've heard from some of the paranormal people and stuff. It's all friendly. Nobody's really got hurt in there. Nothing dangerous has happened. And I'm pretty comfortable in there, to be honest with you. I've been there, for years, so I'm pretty comfortable in there. And a couple of times we've been doing investigations, and like if I'm there and I leave and they're still doing investigations, sometimes some of these paranormal guys will say my name would start popping up. Just my name would pop through on meters and stuff like that. Just Rick, that type of thing. Like if I'm around or if I leave or something. So it's kind of weird but true,
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the Kreischer Mansion has been featured, as well as yourself, on a few TV shows. Can you tell us which ones it's been featured on, which ones you've been a part of?
Yeah, we did. I actually got a call from the Dr. Oz show about 2 years ago. They got in touch with me. He says they were doing an episode of True Crimes, which was like quoted murder houses. They were doing the whole episode, and then they've heard that that I had evidence of some paranormal stuff in there. So she called me up, Dr. Oz's people, and they said they wanted to come down just to do a walkthrough for me to show them the house. So I was like, okay, no problem. So they come down. They brought a medium with them. She was sitting in the car. They came in. They set up cameras. They interviewed me and one of my other people, and the assistant director came in. I was getting interviewed in the front room about the house and the history and the paranormal stuff, and the assistant director was in the other room. And in the middle of my interview, he got locked in the room and he couldn't get out. Or the locks locked up on him. So we stopped my interview. I get up. I'm like, these doors never stick. The doors ain't locked. I get up. I go walking over there. I turn the handle. I get them right out. Next thing I know, they're like, we want you on the show next Thursday. We're going to pick you up with a car. So we want you down here. The assistant director came on the show with me. I went down with my assistant, and we went down to Dr. Oz's show. We went on. I had pictures of orbs. We actually... We took 5 snapshots at the front door, and we had 4 orbs, and we clicked 5 times, and the orbs moved in 5 different places. So he featured that, and we featured some of the faces in the windows, and we got one full body shot in one of the windows when I was doing one of the concerts there that a photographer took on the second stage, and it was behind the house, and he took a picture of the band, and I had the stage next to the house. There was a kitchen window there, and the photographer just took a picture of the band, and we looked into the picture, and we had a full body in a suit and tie, and if you match that to Balthazar Kreischer's face, it's with a beard. He had a beard in his heyday, and he had a beard in this. He was standing straight in a suit, white shirt and tie, and if you compare these pictures, it's absolutely him, just a little skinnier, and right next to him, there's a woman's face with an old bonnet hat on it. And that was shown on Dr. Oz's show too, and then a couple other things. I was also on Inside Edition, came down and did a full spread on the mansion, the history, the paranormal stuff. I just recently, within the last year, filmed in there with Jack Osbourne, Ozzy Osbourne's son.
That's awesome! Wow.
Yep, he has a show called Portals to Hell. He has a show called Portals to Hell on Travel Channel.
Yes.
And he came for 4 days. He filmed 4 days. I did the whole spread with him.
Wow.
I was on the show actually for like 15, 20 minutes, giving him a tour of the house, the whole thing. And he found a bunch of evidence too. We had SI Live came down. They had 4 reporters that were supposed to stay the night. We had them in the mansion. It was a rainy night. They all came in. They came in with sleeping bags and pillows. We started doing an investigation. I had one of my paranormal guys there with some meters. They left about 3:15 in the morning. They packed their sleeping bags up and got out of there. They bolted.
Now, let me ask you this to follow up with the Dr. Oz thing. Did Dr. Oz try to put the ghosts on any kind of special miracle diet pills? Because I know he likes to do that sort of thing.
He said he didn't find no fat ghosts, so he was all good, man. They were all skinny.
I guess I guess Mr. Kreischer and his wife wanted to be TV stars, so they appeared on your show, huh?
It was great. So we did that. We actually, we had some big movies shot in there. Gotham used to shoot in there. Boardwalk Empire. Yeah, they've done shows in there. We do some shoots over there a lot too. I just did like a small horror movie like a couple months ago, shot in there. So, we do get paranormal.
Yeah, very cool.
There's a movie studio nearby, isn't there? There's on Arthur Kill Road there? Yeah. Yeah,
we actually got 2 now. The old Arthur Kill prison is Boardwalk Enterprises is there. Yeah, and then and actually the old beer distributor too rents out that old beer distributor there, the old Budweiser building. They do some shoots in there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we get a lot of. Yep. Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you. Were you always a believer in the paranormal, the supernatural, or does this convince you? Or?
Well, Joe, you could actually attest to this. When I used to own the Caves, which was on Van Duzer Street in Staten Island and Stapleton,
right?
Believe it or not, that place had spirits in it too. Stuff used to happen to me down there, back at the Caves too.
Wow.
That place was built in 1853, and it was like a speakeasy. They used to make beer underground. I turned it into the club. And Joe, I actually believe you used to play there, didn't you?
I loved that place, Rick. That was my favorite place in the world. I
videotaped there.
You used to videotape there.
Yeah.
I love
Lost my hearing for 3 days, but I did.
You and AJ, you and AJ were always great to us, and I appreciate that. You guys were great.
Yeah, me and AJ Peel, he was the drummer of Twisted Sister. AJ was my manager. I owned the place. So me and AJ used to be in there all the time, and things used to happen to us in there. So it's kind of weird that I went from that club, and then many years later, I found that I wound up in another place that's haunted and it has paranormal activity. It's so in the Caves, we used to get toilets flushing, old phones ringing with nobody in there. We'd hear like dog moans going on in there. Stuff used to fly off the wall in there. I used to sit in that office. I remember one time we were in there in the Caves, and Frankie Bello from Anthrax, bass player, was filming a movie in there. Came in, filmed a movie with Lisa Loeb, which is Debbie Loeb, which is Lisa Loeb, the singer's sister. They were filming a movie. I bring them in. I was doing interviews with them with a radio station in my office, and in the middle of the interview, Winston metal sign comes flying off the wall and lands right between them. Oh, and I'm like, it's a truck outside. I pick it up, but I knew what it was. I put it back on the wall, and the thing came off 3 times in the interview, and I kept on saying, man, them trucks are really big outside. So it was kind of weird how I went from my old club had paranormal activity, and I wind up at the Kreisher Mansion now, and that has activity too, a lot more activity too. So it's kind of interesting.
Right. Well, really quick, actually, my experience with the Kreischer Mansion was I used to work at Feedback Studios, which was the rehearsal studio down the street from there. And a bunch of my friends used to hang out with me all the time because it was cool to hang out in a rehearsal studio. And they went over in front of the Kreischer Mansion. And they're like, "Oh, we want to take pictures." So they took some pictures, and then they started running back to the rehearsal studio. I said, "What's the matter with you guys?" They're like, "We saw something that was chasing after us." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." Right? I kid you not, from that point on until Feedback closed about 8 or 9 months later, the PA systems would go on by themselves. The lights would flicker. At one time, I was sitting in the office. There's nobody in the building yet. I'm sitting in the office, and the office door, somebody knocked on the office door, and there was nobody in the building. You know? I'm like, you guys had to bring whatever was here over here, you know? But, that was my experience with it. So. Yeah.
There's right now I'm doing the haunted house there. We just opened up last weekend. And we know this is our 4th year running with the haunted house. We do a haunted hayride, with 20, we have 12 scenes in the woods with 20 something actors out in the woods. Then we have 25 actors in the house and surrounding the house.
Really? Wow.
And
that's great.
Yeah, we do a whole thing. You got a hayride. You got, like I said, 12 scenes in the woods. Then you get dropped off. You go to a maze. Then you go to a haunted bus. Then you go to 2 floors of the house. Then you go to 3 escape rooms and then a door maze.
Wow.
So we have, we got that going on now right through Halloween. Every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 7 to midnight. And then, with that going on, stuff does happen. And like, we have a bathroom on the first floor that the actors use. And same thing, Joe. Sometimes you're in there, the lights start flickering. One time, my box office girl standing there, we're doing the haunted house, so she had to be quick because the people are going to the house. She runs up there, she knocks on the door, and you hear, "Wait a minute," and she's waiting. Nothing's going on. So she's banging again, nothing. Then somebody told her to wait a minute, and the next thing you know, there's no one in the bathroom. She opened the door, there's no one in there, and that's the same bathroom that the lights flicker on and off and stuff all the time. So there's definitely some activity going on there too. So there's just like weird things happen a lot of times over there.
Do you ever feel that they're like, is there like some kind of angry feeling about it, or is there like, I mean, I know there was a tragedy on those grounds, with the fire and stuff like that, but is it an angry feeling about, going on there, a sad feeling? Like, what do you feel when you're around the area?
I honestly think that I'm kind of comfortable. It's not scary. I think it's kind of sad because, okay, Balthazar Kreischer had his house, which was on the back end of the property up on the hill, okay? And he had that house. Then he built the existing house and the house next to it for his 2 sons. And the only house left is the one Kreischer Mansion house now. But he had Charles's house is still standing. And the house to the left of it, that's not there now, was Edward's house. Now, Edward took over the factory, and when Balthazar died, the 2 brothers took over the factory, and Edward was found dead behind the factory.
Wow.
Some say it was suicide. Some say it was foul play and he was murdered. So what happened was the body was taken back to the house that's still standing, Charles's house. Mm-hmm. After they found him dead behind the factory, they took him across the street because the factory was right on the water. They took him back and they went into Charles's house. So the story goes is that Charles's brother used to do seances to try to reach Edward to see if he could find out if it was a murder or if it was suicide. And apparently, as the rumor goes, that's Charles, when he was doing the seances, opened up a lot of doors in that house that never got closed. So that's why they're saying there's so much activity in that house, in the mansion.
Wow.
So he was trying to reach his brother to find out if he was murdered. And the doctor who pronounced him dead lived on Main Street in Tottenville. Dr. Washington wound up marrying Edward's wife 9 months later.
Wow. Coincidence?
So that's why, yes, coincidence, maybe, maybe not. So there was a lot of controversy if he was murdered, if it was suicide. There was something with the way the hand was with the shot. The hand couldn't have went that twisted that far. And ironically, his wife married the doctor. I think it was like 8 months later. It was between like 8 and 9 months later.
Didn't waste any time.
So no, she didn't waste any time. So, and then his brother, like I said, Charles was trying to do seances and stuff like that to try to reach Edward, and they think that the mirror in the first room when you walk in the mansion is a big, huge, old mirror from the 1800s. I've been told from paranormal people that they think that's a portal.
Are there any original furnishings in that house besides the mirror?
No. Well, just the mirrors are part of part of the house. They're built into the walls.
Yes.
Yeah, and the original fireplaces, and then mirrors are part of the walls. But as far as chandeliers and anything like that, not really. I think a lot of it was changed over the years. But when you do walk in when you walk through the front door, right and left, there's like the original walls. They were like circles, like they call them swirl walls. That was hand done. And then you walk into the main lobby there, and it looks like leather walls and ceiling before the main staircase. And it was a process called lincrusta, and it was a combination of linoleum and leather. They mixed it together, and right now it's over 135 years old, and there's no cracks in it. So because if it was just leather, it would have cracked. So back in the day, they used to mix it with linoleum, and they call it lincrusta, and it still stands to this day. We had some chips in it that happened to some of the shoots that were in there. So I was calling around trying to get some prices, and nobody did it. And you had to find like a specialty guy. His numbers had too many zeros in it. So me and my guys just went up. We fixed it ourselves with little paintbrushes, matched the paints, and we fixed it. But besides a couple of chips that happened from the shoots, it looks like leather, but it's called lincrusta. It's really unique.
Lincrusta. Wow.
Lincrusta.
Lincrusta. I got it. Okay. As the history of the Kreischer Mansion, who owned it after they died? Do you know that at all? Who was?
The Kreischers died. There is a bunch of years that went limp, but Mrs. Greenfield, you there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Mrs. Greenfield, she lived there for like 30 years with her son.
Oh boy.
Up to the restaurant moved in. For her, I didn't know who had it between the Kreischers. There were some years missing there, and then there was a restaurant. And then Isaac Yontovian was a developer. He actually bought the mansion and the property to make the mansion. Originally, he wanted to make that the clubhouse and do a 55 and over development on the mansion property and right next door where the bus depot is. So he was going to make that a 55 and over development before the Tides, which is on the water side, became a 55 and over development. And he ran into some permit troubles, and then the bus depot came in, took that property because the city owned it, and he was going to make it the clubhouse, and then it just never deteriorated. It just deteriorated.
If somebody wanted to get in touch with you or find out more about the mansion, about the events and just about what you guys do possibly all year round, all that stuff, how could they do that?
They could just do it. They could just email me at rickrispproductions@gmail.com. That's Rick, R-I-C-K, Risp, R-I-S-P, Productions with an S @gmail.com. And they can just email me and I can inform them of everything. And, we also got a site up on KreisherMansions.com.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad we finally got to do this, Rick. This is a long time coming.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah, I'm glad.
you know, definitely, we're gonna get this out there, and you know, hopefully drive some business over there, because it's
Yeah.
listen, I know firsthand how haunted that place is from what I experienced, you know, right down the street from me over there from that. So I could attest for that for sure.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, we're doing the
But,
haunted house right now. We're doing the haunted house now every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday through Halloween. And then on November 21st, we are actually doing a ghost hunt with Sipit, Staten Island Paranormal Team. And we're doing a whole ghost hunt with you know, with EVPs and all kinds of meters and cameras and everything. So if anybody wants to come join us on that, they could just reach out to me, email, get to me, and then I'll get back to them and we could book a reservation.
Sounds
Excellent,
great.
excellent.
Sounds great.
Oh, thanks a lot for joining us today, Rick. I really appreciate you taking your time out. I know you're very busy doing what you do over there. So,
Yep,
you know,
no
thanks
problem. You
again.
guys need anything? You want to come visit? Let me know.
Yeah. Sounds great. I'd like to do that.
You need any security guards? You need, you know, some event security?
I always
over
need
there?
security. I always need security. I always need security all the time.
Oh, one of my best bosses. You were one of my best bosses, man. I got to say that.
Oh, we loved working for you. We loved it.
Yeah, we had good times, man. We had good. We're still going. I start my own company now too.
Oh, that's
So
excellent.
I'm still doing that stuff. Yeah, called Z Security. We got everything.
Oh,
We got
all right,
everything.
excellent, Rick. So,
All right, guys.
Rick, so have a good one, man. Be safe over there.
Yep. Thank you. Let's
All
stay.
right. All right.
Joe,
So,
that's great.
yeah, we
That's
had a
great.
little bit of technical difficulties there. You know, what can
A
you do?
little
It's our
bit?
first show. Yeah,
little
but we did get a decent amount of information. You know,
I
and
loved
it was you know, as we said to him, you know, Rick was actually our boss. We used to do event security for him, and we had a great time doing that. He's a great guy. As you could see, he's a great guy. And you know, always took care of us. Was always around, making sure we were good. We had water. You know, really good guy. So if you guys could go down there and check out the Kreisher Mansion, that would be awesome. Like he said, they got a lot of events going on, even past Halloween. So definitely go check them out, because you won't be disappointed, and you might even come up with some evidence and stuff, which is awesome.
All right, Joe, I guess we can call this a wrap down, right?
Yeah, I guess so,
all right.
Dad. So,
Okay.
for you know,
It was good seeing you.
Ghost Joe and Ghost Dad.
Heavy
you know,
metal dad, that's me.
Yeah, signing off, and you know, I hope you guys enjoyed the interview, and hopefully we have more of these coming up. Check it out on, you know, Staten Island Cable. Is it still called Staten Island Cable?
Staten Island
CTV.
Community TV.
There you go, Staten Island Community TV. And, you know, hopefully, like I said, I'll get this thrown up on YouTube, and you could see it on the Facebook as you're seeing it now. And that's it. So thank you, everybody, and have a good night.
Good night.